Hello there, welcome to Plum Talks, the podcast where we talk all about fashion and building your e commerce brand. I'm your host, Natasha Joshi, and today we have with us a successful fashion e commerce founder with over 15 years of experience in supply chain, Reshma Sansan. Hi, Reshma, how are you?
Hi, I'm good and yourself.
I'm good too, and I'm super excited for this discussion, mostly because I too wanted to understand the fundamentals of starting your own brand because I understand it from the research only that it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication to build such an amazing brand in such a big saturated market. We all know that fashion is very saturated nowadays. So, would you like to share a little bit of your experience, how you started, what motivated you, etc.?
Yeah, so a little bit about my experience within the industry and prior to the industry, I did attend college for fashion design, but ultimately, um, my goal wasn't really to start a fashion brand initially. The reason that I started my company, it was because I was looking for a gift for one of my brothers. I'm the oldest of nine siblings, seven of which are male.
Hmm.
And as the oldest, you want to provide your siblings with a great gift, especially if they're having their first child. And I did some market research. I reached out to individuals to see what do you give a first time dad who is expecting a son. And I could not find any product out there. I didn't get any insights or, the common thing that you would give a male other than a cigar. And I'm not giving a cigar to my brother.
Hmm.
And so I couldn't find anything. So I thought, well, why not I just make matching father and son bow tie? It's a timeless gift. It's something that he can teach his son. And hopefully, it can be an heirloom. So I created the product. I designed it, I sewed it, all the things. I shared it on social media. People were excited about it. They wanted one. And that's how it started based on that interest. But more importantly, I did pray about it before I launched the brand. But that's initially how it started. I created it as a gift for my brother. People loved it, people wanted it. And I thought, okay, well, let me just start this, create more product, and see where it takes me. And interestingly, this year, Sun is going to be 10 years. So it's taking me thus far. We've survived for 10 years.
Awesome. I think it's great to see that you have been working on it for 10 years, especially because you started it uh, just to provide a gift to your brother. And I understand it. I have younger sibling too. It happens, especially if you are older than them. So yeah, that's a great initiative. And I think one of the best part is that so many great ideas are based on these feelings. So you
Hmm.
can help maybe your family member, your friends, or you can solve a problem, and that is one problem only that you solve. And
Hmm.
congratulations on completing 10 years that you're going to complete very soon. So
Thank
all the
you.
best for the coming years too. And
Thank you.
today, as we know, Rashma, that we are going to talk about the future of fashion e-commerce. What are the trends and challenges that has happened in past, and the challenges that people who want to build their own fashion e-commerce brand might face. So these are the
Hmm.
major topics that we will be covering in this podcast today.
Okay.
So to start our discussion, I wanted to understand, would you like to share what are the challenges or trends or changes you have seen in these last 10 years? Are there any major changes that you have seen that has impacted the fashion industry itself?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I've seen thus far is, well, there's several, but one in particular, I would say the rise of omnichannel with a lot of e-commerce brands. People, they like the ability and accessibility to view it online and to
Mhm.
shop it. But when I say shop it, by being shoppable, you see an item on social media, you can shop that particular item just by clicking on the post. A couple of years ago, we didn't have that. So that's a positive, but the challenge is when people want that product, they want different ways to get it. When I say different ways, yeah, via mail, great. of course, but sometimes people want to go to the store, pick it up because they need it within an hour or so.
Mm.
That has been a challenge for many, but also an opportunity. So I think that's the biggest change, challenges, and positives that I've seen within the fashion e-commerce space.
Yeah. So, as you just mentioned that a lot of people are coming online, but we also
Mhm.
see that, especially after COVID, if you have seen that too, I don't know if you in your sales also you have seen the difference. While we were in COVID, people were purchasing online more than they were going to offline store, obviously because we weren't allowed to. So after COVID, people started going back to the offline stores again. They started
Mhm.
enjoying that experience once again. Do you
Mhm.
think in the coming years they have to stores that are yet not online? I'm not sure if there are any stores left who are not online. Do you think it would be a necessity to join the online market, or do you think stores that are already in the online market, e-commerce stores specifically, they would start their offline branches as well in the coming years?
Um, in the coming years, I would say that I wouldn't say it's a growing trend, but it's necessary to survive that brands have an online presence. It's more important to have an online presence, I think, than an in-store presence, depending on the product. Now, if we're speaking about like electronics, cars, a lot of times people want to go try it before they buy it. There are certain products that you want to try before you buy and see it in person. I know with apparel or accessories, um, it's it's definitely key to have an online presence, and it's more important.
Mhm.
Customers want to have that D to C experience. Um, Brands, they don't necessarily need to have um, a physical location at all, but I think the growing trend and what's needed for the convenience is that for people to be able to go on their mobile devices and just shop anywhere, anytime. It just makes it more accessible for them, no matter where they are.
Mhm.
So, to answer your question, I definitely think in future years there's going to be a growing need and demand for more online presence for stores. And yes, I understand that we just came out of COVID a couple of years ago, and people did a lot of things from their home or wherever they were living. But people got tired of it and they wanted to go out again. But then when you've gotten so accustomed to doing everything from home, you realize, oh, this is a new way of living. I don't have to go out if I don't want to. And so, which is why I say there's going to be a growing need and demand for brands to have more of an online presence, just to have make it more accessible to customers.
Mhm. Right. I think the one point that you mentioned that people are getting comfortable, especially when they are buying online. One of the major thing that I have noticed as a consumer there is that if we are going to a mall to purchase something, let's say I got a top for myself, and when I came home, I realized I don't like it that much or it doesn't suit me that much. I'll have to go back again to the store and return the cloth, and I'll have to do it for so many things. And maybe
Mhm.
if I'm purchasing online, then I can do it by the comfort of my home. People
Mhm.
will get me the cloth, and if it's too tight or too loose, I can exchange it and get the right fit for the product. So that is the level of comfort that people might be seeking these days, because it gives them an alternative, and in the busy schedule, it's easier to do that online. That will also,
Exactly.
I think, it's also going to increase the demand of the fashion e-commerce business, because more and more people would want to buy online, and more and more brands will start gathering and will start shopping more. So
Mhm.
moving ahead, I wanted to know about Sunset a little bit. So, do you think in the coming, uh, as per the trends in the coming days, do you think it
Mhm.
would be best for a fashion e-commerce owner or somebody who wants to start their fashion e-commerce brand? It would be best for them to choose a specific niche, to choose a micro niche. Would that be the right thing to do, or shall they should go for a bigger niche instead and see what the customer want? What do you think on that?
Great question. Ideally, I would say, figure out what the customer wants, know who your target audience is before
Mhm.
you decide to offer a product. But going the niche route is smart. There are a lot of brands out there that just focus on one thing and they do it very well, and customers know, okay, if I need this one thing, I know the brand to go to. For example, we specialize in bow ties. But not just any bow tie, it's for the man who wants to stand out. So if you're a man that wants to stand out and to build relationships, and you're looking for a bow tie for a particular event, birthday, graduation, work, gala, generally our customers come to us, and having that niche product for a particular market makes it easier for customers to find you. You're not just offering an array of different things that makes people a little bit more confused. They know, okay, if I want this one thing, I have to go to this one company that specializes in X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
So it's all about having that niche market, especially if you're an e-commerce brand. There are so many companies out there that are offering a variety of different products, but when you're online, you have to stand out by creating like that, again, that one niche product. You specialize in it. This is what you do. You have a track record for it, and so forth. So I think having a niche brand, product, or service definitely sets you apart from other individuals. So as a company, I think that's important.
Great. And I think it's time to give a shout out to Johnson. So if anybody of our listener wants to get a bow tie, you know what place to go. And I think it's very well said that you mentioned, and it's we can say the base of marketing, that you have to be you should understand what your target audience want. If you do not
Mhm,
understand the basics of what your target audience want, maybe you
mhm,
have to go through a lot of ups and downs, and then finally realize that again you have to know it, right?
true.
Coming back to fashion, do you think can you explain us a little bit what is your target audience? Like, we see a lot of trends going on saying this caters to Gen Z, this caters to millennials. Do you have any such bars, or you are specified towards men who wants to look good or something like that, some kind of emotions that you're tapping on? What I'm trying to understand, the branding and the target audience that it serves to.
Yeah, it's not for a particular generation. It's for uh, experiences in your life. We cater to driven males who want to build a relationship, and what I mean by that, the males, they can be single, they can be young men going into adulthood, they can be a male who has a small family, a male who is into art, who's educated, who wants to build a name for himself in a professional capacity. Um, that is our customer. Again, it doesn't have to be a generation base. The
Mhm.
brand was founded on a gifting destination for males who are expecting their first son. So yeah, if a man is expecting his first son, and he can be of any generation,
Mhm.
or when he's expecting his first son, um, he can be providing Sweet 16 or Introduction to Manhood for his son, a graduation gift, first job gift, a wedding gift, because brooms need bow ties,
Mhm.
going to a gala or an award ceremony. Those are not generation specific. It's more um, it's about, things that are happening in your lives. It's more emotional. It's more like a keepsake. When you take pictures, you think about what you wore. That pretty much transcends any and all moments of time, but it creates a memory. And that's what our brand is all about. And that's our target customer.
Mhm. And if let's take an example here so that our listeners can understand it better. Do you think
Hmm.
it would be the right strategy? As I can see, after listening to your branding strategy, I understand that
Hmm.
you are trying to make a relation between the father or son and the people who would want to share as a the bow tie as a gift to their relatives. So this is a relation that you're trying to build here. Do you think it's if somebody who is going to start their own fashion commerce brand, would it be the
Mhm.
right strategy for them to start with something like this, like to tap onto or add some kind of additional emotion with them?
Yeah, having whatever you create, whether it's product or service, you want to make sure that you're not just selling the item. You're
Hmm.
selling an experience, and that experience can be something tied around emotion. There have been studies many years ago in regards to why people buy, whether it's female, male, just why do people buy? They buy based on need or from an emotional standpoint.
Hmm.
And so you have to build a connection with your customers through your product or your service. It's not just you're selling the product. What makes the product so special? How would that customer feel when they purchase the product? How will they feel when they wear the product? So, creating a product or service that has a more or less an emotional connection for that customer that gives them that experience that they are looking for or didn't know that they needed. That's what I think not customers, but companies should consider before they start their business or create a new product. Like, what value is it providing to the customer? That's what's important.
I really like the line where you said that you have to let them know what they need. Maybe they don't know it yet, but that is
Mhm,
something that you can brand it through. I really like
mhm.
that. So coming back to the challenges that we were talking about earlier, with all this experience that you have, can you help us recognize major challenges that fashion commerce brand owners or people who are going to start their brand might face while they are in the beginning years of building a brand? Any three challenges that you would want to share?
Three challenges. One, I would say definitely creating content that resonates with your potential target. That's one. Two, I would say getting a great hand or hold as to who your customers are. That takes time to develop. Like when you put out a product or a service, you're thinking, okay, it's going to be for this clientele, they're going to love it, or hopefully they love it. But what you need is data, analytics. When you put things out on social media, or even when you connect with your customers in person, it's great to get that insight from them to understand what they're looking for. Is your product or service actually working? Is it providing a value? That's two. Three is definitely building a connection or community. I think that's one thing that a lot of companies or startups don't realize how impactful it is. Your customers will be your biggest advocate. For prime example, recently, Stanley Cup a customer, she created a video about the quality of the cup. Her car caught on fire, the Stanley Cup was in there, and the only thing that survived was the Stanley Cup, and it still had ice in it. Now, in regards to building the community, Stanley focused on the women, and just so happened that that woman shot that video. It spoke about the quality. People recognized it, and it resonated with them. It helped to create and build a bigger community around people who saw this content and said, "Okay, this is what we need." I'm sure Stanley or their team looked at the analytics and thought, "Oh, we're onto something." So I would have to say that some of the challenges again is creating content, creating the community, making sure that you are on track of any data or analytics that you capture to help you know that if you're on the right track. Those are the main or the top three things that I would consider because that gives you um, a guiding path on whether or not you're in the right direction or not.
Hmm. And I like the example that you shared, and I would love to watch that video. I haven't watched it yet. Moving ahead, do you think, as you just mentioned, as we were talking about the people who are new in the market and who would want to start their own brand,
Mhm.
do you think it's hard now than it was 10 years ago?
Mm, I don't think so. 10 years ago, we didn't have access to a lot of the technology that we have, and it wasn't as developed.
Mhm.
Right now we have shoppable posts. If you see a post on social media, you can just click it and you can just purchase it. It's just like going through an old fashioned magazine and you're looking at an ad and wondering, oh, I want to get that. But at that time, you couldn't do it. Now there's QR codes. Now there are QR codes in magazine, QR codes on the television for you to make that purchase. And also, it's just from a click from your mobile. So I don't think um, new businesses or e-commerce brands have a lot of difficulty versus what other brands had 10 years ago. 10 years ago, and if people are still, those companies are still here, they have built more of a sustainable following and attraction, whereas newcomers, they still have to build that. You still have to build that customer base. But ultimately, I think new businesses, new e-commerce brands, they have it much more easier to develop, create, and market their brands now than we did in the past.
And technology plays a great role into it. Can
Correct.
you share some, let's say, tips and tricks with the new business owners of how they can build a strong or loyal customer base in their
Mm.
initial years? Would you like to share that?
Yeah, definitely. Planning is key to build a strong customer base. Planning who are your customers, what type of language, what is your brand voice, what type of voice will you have, being consistent in the content that you provide to them. But the biggest gem that I can provide to them is build your community first. In that community, talk about things that you plan to offer your customers, get some insights before you launch your product or service. I think that is key. Again, knowing who your customers are and to build that community or that online community. That is crucial. It's definitely crucial.
And would you want to say that if you are able to create an online community around your
Mhm.
brand, would be a
Mhm.
lot more easier to sell the product? Because we can see that especially content creators who are available on TikTok or who are creating great content on Instagram, what they have done is first they have created a customer base, a follower base, and
Mhm.
because they have a great following, start their own e-commerce brand. We have seen this a lot in fashion and cosmetics, that they start
Mhm.
their own fashion and e-commerce brand. And then the sales actually are very good because of the community that they have built so far. And that impacts, right? That makes a great impact.
Yeah, yeah. And one particular example, this is a makeup company, a young lady that goes by Super Set. She had a huge following on from YouTube because she was funny. People connected with her based on the stories that she shared, and then she launched a makeup collection because of her already having a huge following. And I'm not sure how much it was at the time, but it was over 100,000 plus. I don't know, but it was more than 10,000, just to give you some numbers.
Mhm.
And she sold out within like the first day. She made like over $1 million in the first day
Wow.
when she launched it. But that's because she had a following.
Mhm.
So that's one good example that I can share on what social media has taught us. 10 years ago, we didn't know all this information. It wasn't a thing. We're still trying to understand technology, how to use the system, how to understand the data that's being provided. Now, with everything that we've learned, new brands can decide, okay, this is a strategy that we're going to focus on because it's worked for this person, this brand, and the numbers don't lie. This strategy does work. So that's another gem that I could
Mhm.
provide to up and coming e-commerce brands.
Mhm. And as we were discussing about community and technology, I think
Hmm.
technology comes with its own consequences as well. I would say it as consequences. Let's say there is another side of technology because of a lot of connection. Like you are completely at a completely different place right now, and I am sitting here in India. So still we are able to connect. That is because
Mhm.
of internet, and internet is also, it also have the power of giving a global market to that e-commerce brand. Earlier, it wasn't that easy to just, sitting here and purchasing from USA or purchasing from Canada. But today we can do that. Everybody can do that. Do you
Yes.
think it have another side, which is that in such a market where globalization is easy, but it's also very hard for us to compete because there are a lot of brands in the market available for the customers. Second, there are a lot of logistics challenges that an e-commerce
Mhm.
brand might face. So, what do you want to share on that?
Yeah, branching off into more of an international space for any brands, it can be challenging. But again, it takes a lot of planning with anything that you do for a business. It requires planning. And what I mean by planning is that, understanding the culture.
Mhm.
For my brand, particularly, there are certain countries that we do ship to. Um, some countries that we do ship to, and our site is localized. And what I mean by localized, it means that our products, we can provide it to certain countries based on the currency that they use. So it makes it easy for us to expand to other countries. Um, but you have to have a well localized website. And so our website is like that. um, Understanding the culture is very important. And the way that companies can do that is partnering with an influencer. That person can help you to understand the preference of that particular demographic to make sure that you're providing something that they will actually want to purchase as well as support. But without understanding the culture, it makes it very challenging to grow your brand globally. That's one. The other thing is to grow your brand globally, you have to get the product to them. How do you get your product to your customer? One thing that I think that's important to note from expanding globally and also from a logistical standpoint, a lot of companies, brands have partnered with Amazon. Amazon has over 150 plus fulfillment centers worldwide.
Mhm.
I'm not sure of any other company that offers that, but that's one way that brands can compete globally, is to partner with other companies. For example, just like Amazon, there are brands who've been successful with doing that, but these are like global brands. They're not small niche companies like Shein. Shein is huge. They can cater to individuals globally because they have fulfillment centers, they have distribution contracts and whatnot to have their products shipped and delivered to their customer base. But again, the best way that I think that companies, smaller brands like mine, can compete is to have a well localized website and also to partner with fulfillment centers or companies like Amazon. But those are the two things that I think that can be supportive for small brands to help them grow globally and to mitigate some of the logistical challenges.
Mhm. I think that would be helpful for our listeners, mostly because some of them might not start because of the fear that there are already so many brands. And since we are talking about challenges right now, do you think you would be willing to share some precautions that people can take while starting their own business? Are there any, let's say, any three precautions that you would suggest them that they can take while they have started their own brand?
Cau- in regards to cautions overall,
Sorry, can you please repeat?
cautions in regards to logistics and expanding, or just
Overall precautions that like they can
uh,
keep in mind while starting a business.
precautions. Oh, one thing I would definitely say that's important is knowing the law in regards to compliance of uh, web usage, or how you market to your consumers on your website. That's important to know. Their laws are constantly changing all the time, and also making sure that you have some sort of security, digital security enabled on your website to prevent, like scamming or someone just getting access to your customers' information, such as their financial information. So having some level of security to make sure that your customers feel comfortable shopping with you, and that's all about building trust and credibility. That's something that definitely needs to be considered.
Mhm. I think it is the points that you mentioned are correct, because these are some minor things, not minor in per se, but these are some things that people might not think about. They're already focused completely on what should be the product, how do we sell them, and all these things. But there are things that we should keep in mind, especially if you want to build it for a long time, right?
Correct.
All right, Rishma, just we are already on time. So let's keep one last question that is really important and which is very significant to our topic. Do you
Mhm.
want to share any trends, upcoming trends that you might have noticed that you would want to share with our listeners that they can focus on while building their brand? Any trends that they should be aware about?
Any trends? Any trends within the e-commerce fashion
Yeah.
space? One trend I would definitely say, I'm not sure if it's quite a trend yet, but it's definitely on the horizon.
Mhm.
um, One thing that's going to be a game changer is virtual try on, as well as VR shopping. With the metaverse already out there, people have established stores, experiences, like all the things within virtual reality. I think that's going to be the next big trend for brands, creating a virtual store where people can use their Oculus and go shopping, and have that visual experience. Also, virtual try on. The biggest challenge for shopping online is, especially for apparel, you don't know if it's going to fit you right. Right. So
Yeah.
you order this product, you try it on. If it's too tight or it's too big, you got to send it back. That's more time and energy wasted. Having a virtual try on, people can just try on their garments while they're at home based on whatever technology that is used to determine that. But that's going to be the next big thing that's going to definitely shape shopping experience as well as fashion e-commerce.
Mhm.
It's not fully developed quite yet. There's not a lot of brands that are using it. There are very few that are using it, but that's one thing for many current fashion brands and future fashion brands to consider. How can you improve the customer experience through virtual reality?
Mhm. I completely agree with what you said, because I was reading this article a few days ago, and it said that Shein has already uh, started some trials with, I think, Roblox. That's a gaming startup or something, and they have started their trials
Yes.
related to VR and AI try-on, so that they can create a complete, store in the metaverse, if I
Mm-hmm.
may say. So their
Yep.
audience can try the clothes and see what fits and what doesn't fit. The only question I am little curious about is that how will the receiver, because now everybody have smartphones, almost everybody has smartphones, but as a receiver, on the receiver end, on the consumer's end, how are they going to interact with the brand? Because it takes more than a smartphone to enter the metaverse and to see yourself, to get the entire experience. And I think
Mm-hmm.
AI has made great progress till now. I think people are gonna find some ways to connect directly. But let's
Mm-hmm.
see. There's so much that we have yet to see in the fashion brand and other industries as well.
Yeah. And to your point, the example of Shein, and Adaya, as well as other brands, what they're doing currently right now is they have these mock-ups of models that can possibly look like you, shape like you, height, build, or whatever. That's more or less an approximation. It's still it's still an improvement from what we had before, but it gives you like a silhouette or mock-up of a body that looks like yours. Like you pick the one that you think fits you,
Mhm.
and then it lets you put the clothes onto this body so you can see how could it possibly look on me,
Mhm.
per se. But that's what a lot of brands have right now. For you, for a brand to have the capacity or the capability, excuse me, for me to take a visual scan of myself with
Mhm.
my phone and to upload it into the system, that can be, such
Okay.
a privacy situation where customers may not want to do it. Um, I'm not sure how that will be rolled out. I don't know how customers will receive it. I don't know how the engagement will help improve the relationship between the customer and the brand. But that's just something that we will just have to, follow the news, follow the
Wait
articles to
and watch.
see the reception of this new technology for the fashion industry.
Absolutely. I think we'll have to wait and watch how it moves. And when it comes, I think we can have another podcast to discuss that topic again.
Yeah, yeah, I would love to do it again.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Rashima, for your time. It means a lot because we have been looking for people like you who could share their knowledge, their experience, and keep us, share their challenges that they have faced as you have been working in this industry for 10 years. Hats off to that. So, yeah, thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much for our
Thank you.
listeners for staying with us. And I hope you have learned a lot from Rashima's experience. I'm sure we'll come back with another podcast series with Rashima specifically. And we can discuss more about fashion. You can connect with Rashima. We'll drop her LinkedIn profile down. And you can also go to Sansan and buy some bow ties for yourself. That would
Yeah,
be great. All right. Thank you so
thank
much.
you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Episodes on our website or YouTube channel. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel to show your support. We also have a very special treat for marketers seeking to enhance their skills in PPC marketing. Visit our website and explore our free academy section, exclusively designed to provide valuable resources and knowledge in this field. And to connect with marketers like yourself, join our Slack community for marketers. Details given in caption below.